Yes.
Research into high altitude flying, I remember.
Yes, that's right.
And became a friend. And there are various contacts I can give you. One is if you look at my husband's book called European Witness.
Yes, I've got that.
Well, he's the companion who was when they were both shot at by the two American snowdrops, they were called, American military police.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Driving together in Germany. I can't give you the page number.
Yes. I've got I do have that book at home actually, because it interested me because I realised that it's just the same time, and there was the first person who mentioned the connection to me was a military pathologist called Keith Mant. Keith Mant exhumed bodies from the concentration camp of Ravensbrück, and he worked closely with John Thompson.
That's right, and then John prepared the evidence in the Nuremberg trial.
That's right, absolutely, and had a very, very important role in initiating the trial, really, and was very important. I came to John Thompson to recognise his importance because of his very important contributions to medical ethics.
Oh, yeah.
But I realised then that and in fact Keith Mant mentioned this, that Keith Mant described him as one of the most brilliant people whom he'd ever encountered, and said that he was also a very complicated person as well.
He certainly was that. Well, briefly, now you see, the terrible thing is that the people who could have told you a lot are no longer with us, like Jimmy and Tanya Stern, who were friends of Auden and who lived in Wiltshire.
Oh, I see.
He died a couple of years ago, and Tanya also.
Yes.
But John taught at Swarthmore.
Yes.
And that's where he became friendly with Auden.
Oh, I see. It goes back to then.
Yes.
How interesting. Yeah.
And then he was converted to Catholicism in a Canadian monastery. And that's why he joined the Canadian Elks.
Yes.
I mean, he was into, I think his whole retreat when he was received into the Catholic Church was in this Canadian monastery, but where, I don't know. At least I did know, but I can't remember.
Okay. I have been to Ottawa and also to Toronto, and I have found various things, but it wasn't clear to me when he was converted and who converted him. I realized that he was a very spiritual and very, very religious person. I mean, that's clearly very is that a common bond with you?
I certainly was religious. I remain religious, but I never became a Catholic.
Right.
And he was always trying to persuade me to swap métiers and become a psychiatrist.
Oh, I see.
I want to do that.
All right.
But anyway, now let me see, what else can I tell you? Now, have you been in touch with Milton Rosenbaum?
I visited Milton Rosenbaum in Albuquerque, and in fact I taped several hours of interviews with him.
Oh, good.
Milton Rosenbaum is going strong.
Isn't that wonderful?
He is, in fact, he is a wonderful. He certainly is, and he's I think a magnificent person, but he's very different to John Thompson. He said that they were close friends, but he said we were like two people together, but that Milton Rosenbaum is a very down-to-earth person.
Well, did he tell you the story of his John's death?
Well, that's a complicated thing.
It is a complicated thing, but I mean, Milton, who's the most down-to-earth person, told it in a sort of mystical way. Or rather, he told it that he didn't know what to make of the fact that John died at the moment that he was pronounced capable of recovering from this.
Yes.
Because I was my husband was poet in residence at the Library of Congress, and I was on my way there
Oh, I see.
And then what happened was there was a conference on the subject of suicide.
Really?
Yeah, wait a minute. And Milton Rosenbaum was one of the speakers.
Right.
And so I thought I'd go to it because I was very, very fond of Milt. And when I went, somebody announced the fact that Dr. Rosenbaum won't read his paper, but you'll all be glad to hear that he's now recovering.
I see.
And that's when I heard that John had died.
I see.
And then Milt told me the whole story.
Oh dear. Yes, it is a tragic. I recently in New York heard the memorial addresses to the meetings. It was recorded.
Oh, yeah.
And I also heard John Thompson, it was the first time I heard his voice, reading T.S. Eliot's Prufrock,
Okay.
as if he identified with Prufrock.
See Eliot through us. I don't
I
know what
see.
Eliot made of it, though. I could ask Valerie. I can't remember that, but I know that.
Oh, that would be interesting to know.
But he certainly did through us, and he met various people through us. For instance, he became great friends with Francis Cornford.
Oh, yes.
The
Class-
sort of Georgian poet.
Yes.
And used to stay with her a lot, and I think was responsible for converting her son, Christopher Cornford.
All right.
And anyway, he was very friendly with that family. Now, there aren't many survivors of that family, certainly not that generation.
I see.
Jamie Cornford, who is the son of the John Cornford who was killed in Spain,
Yes.
he's still alive, but I don't think
Right.
you would remember. But you could, I think I've
Yes.
got a number for him somewhere.
Okay. That would be very kind.
What else can I tell you?
He gives your address on a number of occasions on documents to do with UNESCO and also his demobilization documents from Canada, as if he was going to stay with you. Did he stay with you much?
Very rarely, but he did stay. I mean, the way that various people used to stay
Yes.
here. What was he doing in London? Well, now another person, John. I'll go mad. Yeah, I'm 83, so I'm short on memory for names. John Webster.
Yes.
John Webster in Oxford was the organist of
Yes.
Queen's and also of the University Church. And
Okay.
he arranged for me to have in 1940, to have my piano in the Radcliffe, in St Mary's Church. What's it called?
Yes, it is St Mary's Church in the High Street.
On the far side, facing the.
All right.
And became a friend of mine, and then became a friend of John's. And I think his friend is still alive. I don't think.
Oh, right. Who is?
Oh, God. No, I won't remember his name, I don't think. Somebody was talking about him only recently.
Really?
So if it comes up, I'll let you know.
That would be kind, because John Thompson did come to Oxford after UNESCO
That's right.
and I ought to know something about this, but I know very little other than that he worked in. Yes.
And then I think got the job with Milton.
Yes, that's right.
No, wait a minute, let me see. Well, first of all, he went into what amounted to control commission in Germany, and you know all that. And I used to get telegrams from him asking for some very, for me to send something. This was in 1945, and I
Right.
always sent it by return of post.
Oh, right.
Once I had a telegram that said, please send a violin bow and a birthday cake.
Oh, I see. Yes.
And I sent it, I would think, the following day, Well, then he was influential in the conversion of a friend of mine called Marjorie Goussens, who was the wife of a conductor called Sir Eugene Goussens.
Oh, yes.
And she was living in Paris. I can't think why. Jean, I think, her husband was touring, and she was in a rather distressed
Yes.
at that time. And I said, why don't you go and stay at Eau Vive? This is run by a friend of mine.
Yes.
And then she got very chummy with the nuns there, and was converted, became an expert on Gregorian chant, and retired to a Dominican monastery convent not far from me in France, at Montpellier.
Oh, I see.
She may still be alive.
Gosh, that's very interesting.
And there was another friend of mine she and I were going to tour Sicily together, and we had a break of about 3 hours in Orly Airport, and so I signalled John, who was at Eau Vive, and he said, oh, I'll come and have lunch with you in Orly. And, well, they were off and away on the subject of her life and other more important things immediately, and I don't think he converted her to Catholicism, but he certainly converted her son, and who was tremendously devoted to him, and who became a Catholic, and he's still alive.
Who's he?
He's called Jeremy Hooper.
Oh, right.
I tell you who he knew very well is those two boys who stayed at Eau Vive, and under the influence of John became either doctors or psychiatrists.
Was one Littman?
That's right, that's Sebastian.
Sebastian Littman, yes. What's the other one's name?
The other was the son of the man in the Hitler 1944 plot, and he was called, the father was called Julius Leber. L-E-B-E-R. Now, what the son was called, I don't know, but he was a complete psychiatric stretcher case, as you can imagine, because he'd been made by the Nazis to be aged, I can't remember whether it was 8 or 10, to be in the cell when his father was hanged. And he was hanged by being sort of having a meat hook put to his.
Dreadful.
And so you can imagine, I remember meeting him at Eau Vive when he was as near a zombie as makes no matter, you know, and he was completely restored. Well, when I say completely, he became a doctor, like John, but then in the end he committed suicide. Now, what was he called? Leber.
Yes.
Matthias, I think he was. Matthias Leber.
Gosh, you've got a wonderful memory, yes. Matthias Leber, thank you.
I think it was. But I tell you what, Jeremy Hooper knew both those boys very well, better than I did.
Are these, John, you basically adopted these children, is that right?
Well, you see, what he did was that he, do you know about Eau Vive?
Well, a little bit, but it's very shadowy. I've talked to Milton Rosenbaum's son and to Milton about Eau Vive, but there's, and I realise it was in,
I tell you, it was, it's near every Petit Bourg.
Yes.
Dominican monastery.
Yes.
By the side of the monastery there was a large house with cottages in the ground.
Right.
Which belonged to very rich people.
You don't know their names?
No, I don't, but I know that John persuaded them that he could run it as a sort of retreat.
Yes.
And it didn't matter whether you were Catholic or not, but of course a great many Catholic people did go there, including, I may say, the papal nuncio.
Right.
Who afterwards became Pope John the 23rd.
Yes, yes.
And to go back, let's see.
I've got the associates of.
A number of.
You're right. Oh, right.
Just overnight or something like that, just to visit on my way somewhere, you know. But Alison Hooper, my great friend, Jeremy's mother, she stayed there too.
Oh, I see.
I was regarded myself as a sort of Clapham Junction for the Catholic Church.
Right.
Introduced to all these people who needed something or other.
And it was a mixture of people there on retreat and people needing sort of as a spiritual recuperation.
Yes, and just people needing a rest or something like
Right.
that. He just...
But there were some people there who were really psychotic and...
Well, I don't think psychotic.
No,
But,
not...
I know that Sebastian had been, I think, the son of a prostitute, and he had just picked him up from
Oh, I see.
his time in Germany. And I think Matthias, the same thing. But they were two special cases. But just ordinary people went there to stay
Right,
when they wanted a rest or something.
right.
And again, it didn't matter whether you were Catholic or not. It wasn't entirely the point. Of course, a great many people were. And then, now how are you going to get on to that? His great friend was a priest called Pere Tomas.
Is he... Right.
I've got a friend who might be able to tell me more about Pere Tomas. He worshipped him. Jeremy Hooper thought he was a marvellous man. There are others in the Catholic hierarchy who have equivocal attitudes.
Right. Is he Thomas Merton?
No, not at all.
No.
That was a friend of mine, but he was in America.
Right.
Pere Tomas
He was French. Okay. Oh, I see. Thank you.
wait a minute, how would you get in touch with him? I wonder if he's alive now.
Right.
No.
I see. And do you know anything about John Thompson and Bergen-Belsen?
What do you mean, Belsen?
Did he talk about visiting the concentration camp at Belsen?
That's right, aye, but nothing to do with John. Gave a concert at Belsen. That would have been in August 1945.
Really?
Because I was on tour playing to RAF units.
Right.
Had an afternoon and played in the hospital there. I didn't talk about Belsen particularly with John, I guess.
Right.
But of course he had a great deal to do with all those concentration camps. He knew great, I think he was a real expert on all the things that went on in the name of medical research.
Well, he was actually. I've worked at the Public Record Office, in the Archives de France, and in the National Archives, Washington. And the memoranda which he wrote are magnificent. They're all unpublished, but he really moved things forward to document medical war crimes and to get the authority. In fact, he was the first person to have used the phrase medical war crimes, and he initiated a whole range of issues to have them. That's why there was the Nuremberg medical trial, and Keith Mant did the Ravensbrück work, and it was a stupendous achievement. And at the same time, he had this link to Lester Pearson, and he yes. And he was writing reports to the Canadian authorities about, he had a scheme for an international university.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was a sort of roving ambassador. And
he was at UNESCO in the time of Julian Huxley.
Yes.
And then I don't know whether
You knew Julian Huxley?
Yes, he did, through us.
Through
He was a great friend of Stephen.
So
Stephen was at UNESCO on the preparatory commission.
Yes.
But I think he'd left before John was taken on.
Do you know, I wondered that. I wondered whether whether in fact it had been your husband who had brought him into contact with Julian Huxley.
Probably was. And Julian's papers are where?
They're at Rice University, and I've been there.
Ah.
Yes, there is some correspondence there.
Yes.
And because he was initially the he was a sort of special assistant to Julian Huxley, and then when Julian Huxley left UNESCO, John Thompson ran the German program, and that's why he was in Stuttgart at one stage, and that's how he got to know the Littmann children. And in fact, the brother of he knew them for 48. 48.
I'm surprised if it's as late as that, because
I think it's earlier still.
yes, I do.
All right.
Those boys were around. I'd have to look up when I went to Sicily, because
Right.
I met Sebastian then, and then Sebastian became a great friend of Francis Cornford in Cambridge,
I see.
and she looked after him rather when he had
Yes.
a period of being in Cambridge. I can't think why.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm hazy about that, but I know that he was, and Christopher Cornford is now dead. So
Yes.
I get on to that.
The other dimension is John Thompson's interest in literature and poetry.
Yes, well, it was tremendously through wisdom, I suppose.
Did he write poems? Did he send you?
If he did, we didn't see them.
You didn't see them. I wondered about. I've sort of wondered about that. I found some of his books in the psychiatric hospital in the Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
They keep the books there. And some of the, and there are in fact some 3 volumes of your husband's poetry.
Yeah.
And
Right.
one of them is inscribed actually. It's I think it's called is it Poems of Dedication?
Yes.
Yes. That's the one volume which is inscribed.
Oh, yeah.
I presume it's just a fraction of his library.
He had a house that was overlooking the Hudson River, a flat, I mean.
Yes.
And whenever I was in New York, I used to sort of spend a day with him. He would come and collect me. We used to live with somebody called Murial Gardner. Do you know about her?
Yes, do you know, your husband wrote a feature of her in the in one of the Sunday newspapers, something like the Observer,
That's right.
and that struck me as so interesting
Yes, what you
that I remember years back I kept that. It's a wonderful piece. It's absolutely marvellous that portrait of hers, which your husband wrote. It was in the Observer or something like in the Observer colour supplement.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, she is, you see, she's the real life. I don't know if you ever saw the film called Julia.
yes.
She's the real life Julia. And Lillian Hellman simply stole all that material and claimed to have been a career.
So did John Thompson know Muriel Gardner?
Now that I don't remember, but he certainly came to see me in Muriel's apartment. I mean, she had a house on 87th Street, because
All right.
he brought Dorothy Day to...
Oh yes, I know who Dorothy Day is. Is she a Catholic radical, sort of, to assist in the Bowery, sort of assisting down and outs?
Yes. And she's the one that's a rather famous story when she was desperate for money to keep her place open.
Right.
And one of the tramps moved forward and gave her a check.
Oh, I see.
When she looked at it later, it was W.H. Auden looking like a tramp.
Oh, I see. Really?
Anyway, yes.
What a wonderful story.
John brought her to supper with me, and for some reason I was there alone. Muriel must have been out.
Right.
I think he must have met Muriel. No. I think that they wouldn't have got on that much, really, because Muriel was very anti-religious.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay. Of his books, he has a volume of T.S. Eliot's 4 quartets,
Yeah.
and that's inscribed to John from Gladys.
I have no idea.
You don't know who that is. And then there was someone called an edition of Gerard Manly Hopkins, inscribed from someone called Ronald, and there was a Ronald Boothroyd who did the Albatross.
He had a lot of friends in Oxford, and I tell you who one of his friends was.
Yes.
Was the widow of John Laird.
Oh yes.
Mrs. Laird was also a psychiatrist.
Oh right.
You know about John?
No, I don't, but I'll look in.
Molecular.
I see.
Now, this is, I don't know if surgery, remember, John.
Right.
But it's something you might...
Yes, I'll follow. I mean, it's very kind of you to speak at such length. And these are all leads which I can follow up. I mean, why... He was, you know, as friends with you. I mean, what was the bond of friendship based on? Just...
I don't know. I think partly mutual friendship, partly
right.
Auden. Because Auden wasn't here during the war.
Right.
And partly one just, I think we just got on.
Right.
But I, in one sense, I more than Stephen, because Stephen, although he liked John very much, and although they were together in Germany.
Yes.
I think that Stephen was more allergic to Catholicism than I was.
Oh, yes, I understand. And he, of course, it was, I think, I suppose it was very important, the spirituality, for his, in a way, it in order to face up to all the horror which he encountered in Germany, and I suppose also for his own mental balance, really.
Yeah, but I think there was some crisis in his life before we had ever met him.
Right.
He was responsible partly for the conversion. And it may be, and this is what Jimmy and Tanya Stern knew about.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay.
Now, wait a minute. Jimmy Stern's papers.
Yes. Really? Thank you.
So, if there might be something there, I mean, there might be letters from John.
Right.
I haven't looked at them, but I know that they're there.
He's an author. Jimmy Stern is an author, or?
Yes, Jimmy Stern was a great friend of Auden. They shared a
right.
cottage together at Fire Island.
Right.
He was a translator of a Freud. I mean, he was
right.
a Freud family. A translator. He wrote some short stories. He wrote a book about Germany called The Hidden Damage, which my husband wrote a preface for.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
And he was a great friend of various people also in Wiltshire. Not far. I tell you, Jeremy Hooper might be able to
yes.
about Jimmy, because Jeremy lived very near them.
Gosh, yes. Okay. That's really helpful. That's very, very interesting. It's absolutely fascinating what you're telling me. And it is very interesting just to hear about Eau Vive, because that's an enormous mystery. Because it's vanished, and it's clear that there were Catholic philosophers like Maritain and...
he was a friend of Maritain.
Yes. And that it was...
Where are Maritain's papers? In Princeton, probably.
There is a small collection in Toronto which I've consulted, but there is a special study centre in the east of France, and that's something which I've got to follow up. But he had a lot of Maritain's books.
Yes, that's right.
In his again, that's quite clear in his in his collection. That maybe I was trying to work out whether it was at the time of this crisis which John Thompson had, which I don't actually know about. I'm not quite sure what it was. I mean, because it could have been at a time when he was already in the Royal Canadian Air Force.
No, I think it's before that.
It's before that.
But, I mean, I'm only guessing, so don't take my word for it, but I just have the notion that he was in the habit of going up to this monastery.
Right.
I think he did retreats there a number of times before he was received into the Catholic Church. And that is, I think, almost the only reason why he joined the Canadian Air Force.
Oh, I see.
He was, in fact, by origin British, though his family had lived in Mexico.
Yes.
And he taught in various colleges in America. But the one that I know about is Swarthmore. So again, you might pick things up in Swarthmore. You just look at I should think probably,
yes.
Any biography of Auden would tell you when Auden taught at Swarthmore, because they never
Of course.
together.
Oh, I see. Okay. I've got quite a good idea about, just by chance, I found some documents. They were, in fact, at the Rockefeller Archive Centre, which is, it's just up Hudson in Pocantico Hills, and they are actually to do with why John Thompson came to Swarthmore. It was a complete chance I found them, and he was staying in Edinburgh. He was studying in Edinburgh and he was studying with, there was another American medical student, and Swarthmore, there was a physiologist there called Detlef Bronk. Detlef Bronk, and the reason why the papers are there, actually became head of the Rockefeller University later on. And it was Detlef Bronk, and he came to Swarthmore to be Detlef Bronk's replacement. But it was such an odd arrangement, because he was, on the one hand, he was studying in Edinburgh. He spent some time in Freiburg from 1932 to 33, just when the Nazis took over. But he was really commuting transatlantic to do the teaching in Swarthmore while studying medicine in Edinburgh.
Everything you hear about John is a tiny bit extraordinary, and you think, I know that Weston used to say, oh, you know, John romances.
Oh, I see.
But Weston in his rather bossy voice would say, now, John, you're romancing. But then it always turned out that something even stranger happened within your presence.
Right.
With John. And then, like nearly being killed by those American military people.
Yes. Yes.
Stephen always used to say, sometimes I wonder about John's stories, and then blow me down, a story happened to Stephen himself, which he was bound to admit was a bit strange.
Well, you see, that's just what happened. That's just what Milton Rosenbaum says. And what I try and do is to document things, and it really is the case, so that I've been able to document that he was in Freiburg just when the Nazis took over. He was in Madrid, working with a neurophysiologist called Cajal.
Ramon Cajal.
Absolutely, just when the Spanish Civil War was about to break out.
What age was John? When was he born?
1906.
Oh, really? Yes. So he's a year older than Weston and 3 years older than Stephen.
Right. So he's somehow attracted to places of enormous sort of danger and significance. And he was also, and there's something I found out recently, he was in Poland in 1948, just when the communists were taking over. And he said that he was writing to a Catholic rector of the University of Ottawa saying, no, I can't take a chair in Ottawa because I feel my place is in Krakow to help the beleaguered Polish Poles under the pressure of the Russians, and I feel that there is a fight here, which I have to sort of, I have to be there at their side. And that was he's somehow there at turning points, and I think later on, when the American Civil Rights movement was brewing up, one thing I learned, that he was going to the American South and recording people who were, sort of recording ordinary people and sort of prisoners in chain gangs and things like that. And again, this was a point, a real flashpoint, so that when and then when it was just sort of when the race riots and race tensions were sort of brewing, and he seems to have had some contact to civil rights leaders.
I just remember two names of people he had that he saw quite a lot. One was Mannheim. Now, what was Mannheim? Was he a sociologist?
Yes, at the London School of Economics.
He was a friend of Mannheim.
Yes.
And I think he was a friend of Menninger.
Ah, who was... Menninger was, do you know...
Well, he was in America, wasn't he?
Right.
He used to produce this. When he came to London, we hardly saw him. I mean, he stayed here, and perhaps one would see him in the evening, but he was whizzing around seeing.
Okay. Okay. He would... he's clearly a figure in W.H. Auden's Age of Anxiety.
Is he?
Yeah, because there's Malin is one of the four voices in the Age of Anxiety, and he is a Canadian Air Force medical investigator. So that...
Enough to make him actually it.
Well, they could be... there could be other facts, but there were not, it could fit.
It could fit, but I think it's conjecture.
But as a Canadian Air Force, a Royal Canadian Air Force medical intelligence officer?
Well, I know, but
it was what John Thompson was.
You can't just sort of therefore assume.
No, okay. I think that's fair enough, because apparently there was another Malin, an academic called Malin at Swarthmore. So it could be,
Or may have telescoped two people. Right?
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree with that. I agree, but there does, it is a little bit of a coincidence, and it would, from the point of view of the time that the poem was written, was a time when John Thompson was in fact he had certain missions to go for the Canadians down to the United States, and it could be that he visited Auden in New York. It would fit in time-wise. You've been terrifically helpful. Can I?
Please, let me see a draft so that I will be quite sure that I haven't told you a dirty lie about anything. That's what I mean.
Well, if I...
It's my experience as a literary executor to find that people sometimes, don't get it quite...
No.
I'm not told it quite accurately, so... if there's anything that comes from me, I'd like to just...
Well, that's very kind. Perhaps what I should do is to... I've been scribbling notes as we've been talking, and if I sent you the notes, you could perhaps have a look at them and see whether I've actually got it... I've got things right. That would be very, very kind. That'd be really nice, and I'll gladly send you things as I write about. As I write about. It's most kind of you. Thank you so much.
Actually, Jeremy Hooper would be a great help, because he really, I know that he stayed at Eau Vive and became great friends.
Yes.
With one of John's converts.
Right. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Thanks. Okay. Yes, thank you, gladly. Goodbye then. Bye-bye.